gang member from our country will get them out. This will be a major national undertaking, according to newly published data from ICE, that the great patriots of ICE, I call them. These guys are tough as hell, I'll tell you. They should be fighting for Dana White, UFC, ICE. You got to see them. They go in MS-13. That's another beautiful gang. They're tough as hell. They've taken them out by the thousands. She wants to end ICE. She doesn't want to have ICE. But they informed us that over the last short period of time, 13,099 illegal aliens convicted of murder are at large and dropped into the United States against their wishes, against our Border Patrol, the wishes of our Border Patrol. They would say, please don't do this, please don't do this. Even as the New York Times, which is totally corrupt, I mean, I can't stand that paper. I can't stand it. You know, the New York Times, when you read a story, just think the opposite. They're the enemy of the people. They really, New York Times is the enemy. Washington Post is the enemy of the people, too. I don't understand it, why. And then they lose credibility. Eventually they go out of business. I call it the failing New York Times. But even as the New York Times recently reported, the TDA Venezuelan prison gang has, quote, sneaked into the United States among the millions of migrants who have crossed the border and is peddling drugs, guns, and women all across the 50 states, from the urban centers like New York and Chicago to Florida beaches to the once tranquil middle America. It was once tranquil. You were once tranquil. In Colorado, the gang even got a green light to shoot police officers. Did you know that the gang got the okay to kill your police? You know that, huh? By the way, that's the New York Times. That's not me. That's the New York Times saying that. They got the green light to kill your police. Just days ago, it was an amazing day. I was in a small town, Prairie du Chien, in Wisconsin. You know, we're leading Wisconsin by 4.5 points, too. Right? They have a similar problem. You know, almost all states have this. You know, just so we set it straight, Aurora's got a lot of publicity, but you have states that have a bigger problem than Aurora. You have that people aren't talking about. A lot of the people that run the states, they don't want to talk about it. They want to try and solve it, but they can't because they're not tough enough. You need very tough people like ICE, like military. You need very tough people to solve it. They can't. You know, you'll have a sheriff with 1 or 2 men, and you'll have 25 migrants with weaponry that they haven't even seen in some cases. No, you need help. But they don't want to talk about it because the public relations is so bad for the town or the little city that they run. Or the big city. Look at Chicago, look at New York, look at Los Angeles, what's happening to it. In Wisconsin, where last month an illegal alien member of this ruthless gang was arrested for holding a mother and a daughter captive against their will and sexually assaulting them again and again and again. In Houston in June, 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungari was kidnapped, tied up, and assaulted for 2 hours under the bridge before she was murdered by 2 Venezuelan TDAs. These gang members who Kamala Harris had ordered and let into the United States, totally unvetted. Nobody knew who they were, totally unvetted. Come on in, you just come on in. In New York City, another gang member recently shot 2 New York City police officers, hitting one in the chest and the other in the leg. They were really, really badly hurt, probably going to make it. And just last week, police arrested over a dozen members of TDA, the Venezuelan gang, who had taken over yet another apartment complex in San Antonio. They're like in the real estate business, like I used to be. They take over a lot of real estate, but they do it by gunpoint. I had to go borrow money. I had to see the banks. This is a wonderful deal. Would you like to? But they just walk in with guns and take it over. It's much quicker. It's a horrible in San Antonio and terrorized its residents to a level that they've never seen before. San Antonio police very aptly named their law enforcement effort Operation Aurora, because Aurora was the one that was first and got all that publicity. Operation Aurora. In honor of Jocelyn Nungari, Laken Riley, beautiful Laken, Rachel Morin, and all of the others that are dead, and or mortally wounded at the hands of migrants who should never have been allowed into our country. I'm announcing today that upon taking office, we will have an Operation Aurora at the federal level. To expedite the removals of these savage gangs, and I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. Think of that. 1798. This was put there. 1798. That's a long time ago, right? To target and dismantle every migrant criminal network operating on American soil. Who would have ever thought that a president or a future president would ever have to stand here and say such things? Who would think that that's even possible to have to do? So many things have changed in the last 4 years, but that's the state of our country now after Kamala and Joe Biden have just absolutely destroyed our country. We're a country in tremendous distress. We're a failing country. We're laughed at all over the world. We will send elite squads of ICE, Border Patrol, and federal law enforcement officers to hunt down, arrest, and deport every last illegal alien gang member until there is not a single one left in this country. And if they come back into our country, they will be told it is an automatic 10-year sentence in jail with no possibility of parole.
And that's what the current law is. That's not a change. It's just something they're not enforcing.
And I'm hereby calling for the death penalty for any migrant that kills an American citizen or a law enforcement officer. With your vote, we will achieve complete and total victory over these sadistic monsters. It's going to go very quickly. Remember, our local police, they're great. I know them so well. They've been restricted from operating. They're great. They know everything about every one of them. They say, oh, how will you ever find them? The local police know everyone. They know their middle names. They know their serial numbers, where they live. No, and they want to do their job. They're done. You have no idea how many police officers say, sir, we're going to indemnify them against any prosecutions because they get prosecuted if they do their work. It's going to pass, and it'll pass so fast. If they do their job, they get prosecuted by their own people. They get sued by the people that won't take care of the criminals. Some of the DAs that won't do the, think of it, and AGs. They won't go after the criminal, but they'll go after our police officers if they do the job. We will take back our suburbs, we'll take back our cities and towns, and we will take back our country, and we will do it very, very quickly. What Kamala Harris, and remember, I remember when Joe, he didn't want to do it. He was too tired. He didn't want to do it. I like to do it myself. And by the way, how good is J.D. Vance? Is he great? I know J.D. J.D.'s going to be saying, sir, let me do it. I want to do it, sir. And if he did it, it would be done right. But I'd say, J.D., I want to do it. We'd have an argument over who's going to do it. It'll be done right. But J.D. was great. He was great the other night exposing that total moron. Man, can you imagine? How about in a debate, a guy calls himself a knucklehead? He says he's a knucklehead. And he is a knucklehead when you get right down. What a team that is. So Joe Biden is considered the worst president in the history of our country. They are considered the worst administration in the history of our country. And the only one that's happy is Jimmy Carter, because by comparison, he looked like a brilliant president, okay? Much better. No, he was much better. What Kamala Harris has done to our border is a crime and an atrocity of the highest order. But even after all of the pain and suffering she's caused, when Kamala was asked this week if she would do anything different than Biden, she choked like a dog. She said not one thing. So she wouldn't have done anything different. Let's take a look at this video.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years? There's not a thing that comes to mind.
We stood there on the tarmac watching you check your watch.
The chaotic and deadly U.S. evacuation from Afghanistan stunned Americans and the world and cost the lives of 13 U.S. soldiers.
Would you have done something differently? There is not a thing that comes to mind.
More than 13,000 illegal immigrants convicted of murder have been caught at the border and then released into the United States.
An Afghan national is in custody today after being accused of plotting an election day terrorist attack. The suspect entered the U.S. on special immigrant visa.
Gut-wrenching new details in the murder of Georgia nursing student Lakin Riley. The illegal immigrant suspect, who cops say committed the heinous murder, is a Venezuelan national who crossed the unsecured southern border back in 2022. Two men investigators say are in the country illegally from Venezuela are charged with capital murder in the death of Jocelyn Nungaray.
A fifth illegal immigrant accused of attacking two New York City police officers over the weekend showed no remorse or regret.
Would you have done something differently? There is not a thing that comes to mind.
Only 18% say the economy is in excellent or good condition. US inflation has hit a new 40-year high, increasing by 9.1% over the financial year.
The cost of homes has spiked. Home buyers need to earn 80% more than they did in 2020 to afford a house.
Were you the last person in the room?
Yes.
Can you imagine? I watched that, and I said, well, this is going to be a long answer because she's changed 15 policies. She was in favor of gun confiscation, every single thing that you don't want, 15 times, and said this, and she changed. Nobody's ever, if you change one thing, you're in trouble. She did every single thing, but every single thing she changed, she would end up doing, including banning fracking, which is going to drive up costs, and hence, I'm leading Pennsylvania by a lot. That would be the end of Pennsylvania. That would be the end of Pennsylvania. But that statement, I can't think of a thing that changed from Joe Biden, the worst president ever. She's not going to change. No, she choked. I thought this was going to be a long answer. Long, beautiful. The weave. I thought you'd do a weave like Trump does. You know, weave. And then always come back into what you're doing. You need a great memory for that. She doesn't have that. But what she said is disqualifying. If she had any honor, she would drop out of the race right now and resign. The vice presidency, a disgrace. Because what she has done to the country is unthinkable. It was just announced yesterday that inflation came in substantially higher than expected last month, double what was predicted, with much of the gain coming from food prices going up, rent and housing costs going up, and car prices going through the roof. 4 years ago, when I left office, we had no inflation. We had virtually, think of it, we had no inflation virtually for my whole term, 4 years. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. We never had an economy like that. And we were energy independent. How does that sound? We were energy independent. Now we're buying our oil from Venezuela and other countries. Under Biden and Harris, the economy has been a disaster, the worst inflation in history, costing the typical family $29,000 in higher prices. Think of that, $29,000. But I think, to me, the worst thing of all, which she says she wouldn't have changed, this is something that if it was me, I mean, you'd never see me again. I really believe it. Kamala lost 325,000 migrant children who are now dead or in slavery. They're gone. She's missing 325,000 children. Their parents are looking, they're never going to see their parents again. They came in, they were taken in, and they're either dead, in slavery, or just plain missing. It's a horrible thing, and I thought I'd put this up because it's a beautiful day. We have some wonderful people, and I want you to take a look at military the way it was, where we won 2 world wars, where we had something known as Fort Bragg, where the names were changed. You win 2 wars out of Fort Bragg, and they want to change the name, but where they changed the name, they changed the name out of places that we won a lot of military battles, wars, and I thought you should see the way it sort of was you get a pretty heavy dose of this. And I saw it the other day. I said, we got to put it up. Go ahead, please.
You little scumbag! I got your name! I got your ass! You will not laugh! You will not cry! You will learn by the numbers!
Happy Pride. Happy Pride Month, and actually, let's declare it a summer of pride.
So you're a killer! Let me see your war face! Sir, you got a war face? Ah! That's the war face! Now let me see your war face! Ah! Oh shit, you didn't convince me! Let me see your real war face! Ah! You will be a weapon. You will be a minister of death, praised for war. But until that day, you are puke. You're the lowest form of life on earth. You're not even human fucking beings. You're nothing but unorganized, grabastic pieces of amphibian shit.
Abracadabra, these bitches know I got answers the way I
You know what to me like the best part? You ran down the track to your mama's house, ended up at the Bronx, stayed on the bus. I love working for Uncle Sam. I love working for Uncle Sam. Let me know just who I am. Let me know just who I am. 1, 2, 3, 4, United States Marine Corps. 1, 2, 3, 4, United States Marine Corps.
And you see all of that, and Kamala says she wouldn't change one thing from the worst president in the history of our country. She wouldn't change one thing. The only way to end this suffering is to vote for change this November. You got to vote for change. Emergency rooms in Denver, beautiful Denver, have been, think of this, 6,000% increase in patients. 6,000% increase. You're not going to get a room, you know, when you go to hospitals. You're not going to get a room. Someday you don't know it because you hopefully won't need a hospital. But if you do, you're not going to be able to get in. They come in from Colombia, from Honduras, from Ecuador, from Venezuela. They come in from many. You cannot get a room. They can't get a room. A hospital only 15 miles outside Aurora has been overwhelmed by 20,000 visits from illegal aliens, costing the hospital over $10 million, and those costs are being passed on to you directly. Before Kamala Harris, before she came, Denver schools enrolled an average, listen to this though, Denver schools, this is the way it used to be, enrolled an average of 500 new students every year. Earlier this year, it was reported that they were enrolling 500 new students every 2 weeks. Most of them coming in from South American countries. They don't speak our language, and they don't even want to be here, frankly. Many of them don't even want to be here. In Aurora, nearly 3,000 illegal migrant children have been placed into your elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools, once again at your expense and at the cost of more opportunity for them and no opportunity for your kids. They're not, your kids can't even get into their own schools. Kids that went to a school aren't even able to get back in. They're taking care of these people before they take care of our children. These massive new burdens on our education and healthcare systems are being experienced by communities all across our country and are destroying your children's education, safety, and indeed destroying their lives. And as you know, FEMA, which has totally gotten out of control and away from its mission, it had a mission, a big mission. You know what that mission was? To save people in storms and other things. Has spent billions and billions of dollars illegally allowing people to come into our country and destroying our once beautiful way of life. Yet hurricane victims from North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, Tennessee, Louisiana, Texas, all over our country. When you have storms all over our country, different kinds of storms, different kinds of catastrophes, they can't get housing or rescues, and they're offered pennies on the dollar. They're offered pennies on the dollar. These people that have gone through hell are offered pennies on the dollar from Kamala and Joe, and yet we give hundreds of billions of dollars from countries that people have never even heard of in this country. And now Kamala wants to provide amnesty and citizenship to the 21 million illegal aliens she let in, including murderers, gang members, drug lords, human traffickers, not to mention the millions of gotaways and all of the others that very smart leaders have viciously thrown out of their countries. These are very smart leaders. I would do it. I would have done it faster than them, I tell you. As soon as I thought of it, I said, you know, remember I said it 3 years ago. I said, that's going to happen if they have open borders. And I was right. But who Kamala has allowed into our country at the expense of our children, our mothers, our fathers, our grandparents, our uncles, and our aunts. Under the we will put American citizens first, American children first, American patients first, American taxpayers first, American workers first, and American communities first. We will put communists, Marxists, and fascists last. And they will always be last. I will end catch and release. I will restore remain in Mexico. Remember, I got it done with the Mexican government. Remain in Mexico. They couldn't come into this country and they had to remain in Mexico. You think that was easy to get from Mexico? It wasn't, but I got it. I got everything. I will bring back Title 42 medical rejections. People come in, they're very sick. Very sick. They're coming into our country. They're very, very, very sick with highly contagious disease. And they're let into our country to infect our country. And they're coming in at numbers that nobody's ever seen before. I will send Congress a bill to ban all sanctuary cities in our country, including Denver. And we will begin the largest deportation operation in the history of the United States. We will close the border. We will stop the invasion of illegals into our country. We will defend our territory. We will not be conquered. We will not be conquered. We will reclaim our sovereignty, and Colorado will vote for Trump as a protest and signal to the world that we are not going to take it anymore. We're not going to take it anymore. I will liberate Colorado. I will give you back your freedom and your life. And together, we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America healthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you, Colorado. Vote for Trump. God bless you. God bless you all. Thank you.